Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
Welcome back, everyone. You did a great job with that. You did. Oh, I can't tell you how excited I am to interview this guest of mine. This is Ashley Livingston. Ashley is involved with Friends of Recovery, and they have an event that's going to happen this Sunday that we want to tell you about. But really, I just want to take the opportunity to introduce her to you, and vice versa. This is our audience out here. Okay, there they are. There's someplace out there.
Okay.
Ashley got involved with Friends of Recovery out of a personal experience of being addicted. And really, it's really quite impressive. And it's one thing for me to say it, but it's another thing for them to hear from you. You were involved in a relationship that wasn't going well. As a result of that relationship, you sustained some abuse. As a result of the abuse, you were put on some painkillers to try to mitigate that pain. And one thing led to another, and before you knew it, there was a problem. Is that right?
Yeah.
It did. Okay. When did you realize that there was a problem?
Well, I didn't. I overdosed.
Wow.
So that was the problem, is that I almost died.
Sure. How long
And then I was...
were you addicted before you overdosed?
Oh, well, I had struggled. So again, like to the relationship, he went away for a while, but he body slammed me out of a car, like a different relationship because the other one was in prison. And then I was prescribed opiates, and then I had 3 years clean, and then the other ex came home, and then he did good for about a year, and then he shattered my mandible. And then I was prescribed Dilaudid, but I thought that I'd be okay because I hadn't used opiates for like 3 years, but that wasn't the case. So I was on them for about a year and a half before I overdosed.
Right. There is always, you always hear this. I have friends that have overdosed, and it's a wake-up call if you're lucky, because let's face it, if you overdose, you could die. So you're one of the lucky ones. They saved you, and as a result of that, you took on a mission, which is so admirable, I'm telling you. You decided to do something about it, hence Friends of Recovery. How'd you get involved in that?
So I am a graduate of Washington County Felony Treatment Court, which is the program that helped me, especially my case manager there, who helped me get the counseling and other things that I needed, and also encouraged me to get involved. So we are the local recovery community organization for Warren and Washington County, and we started as, well, we are technically still the subcommittee, recovery subcommittee of Hometown versus Heroin.
That's right.
And yeah, so then we became kind of big and we became our own entity. And so we educate, our community, and we do a lot of forums, we do a lot of advocacy. We link up with other recovery community organizations like Friends of Recovery New York and stuff like that to go down and advocate to our elected officials for what we need, because it's nothing about us without us.
You know what? And one thing that they do, which I think that Ashley does, they'll go into the school systems and been in the high schools all throughout our region to talk to high school students. Now look, you'd have to be living under a rock if you didn't realize that we have an opioid crisis in this country, and our counties are not immune to this. Starts as young as 10, 15 years old, peer pressure, one drug leads to another, and before you know it, you're hooked. By going into the schools, what is that experience like when you go into a high school?
Well, I really enjoy it because I feel like that's our future. So if we don't tell them that they can do better, then they won't. And a lot of times it could be like a sports injury, it could be a wisdom tooth. We're overprescribing.
Yes, that's right. That's
and so, or it could be them struggling with a parent's addiction, because this is very rampant, whether it's alcohol or pills, the environment plays a big part in it. So I go in and I share my experience and also like strength and hope with the kids that, hey, you know, like I recovered, so you're like, I've had people come up to me, like kids come up to me and say, you know, my brother is in prison, my sister's, you know, and addicted. How can we get help? And then I'm able to kind of link them. I'm able to help link their families to Nar-Anon.
Yeah, sure.
And so there's things that the families can do too, because if the family gets healthy, the individual's chances of success increase.
Well, you know what? That's such a valid point. I hear this all the time in many of the people that I interview, that it is not up to the individual. You're too isolated. You don't know. You're in denial a lot of times. And if the family gets involved, or they meet somebody like you that they can relate to, then all of a sudden there's a path.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say, I mean, yeah, a lot of times, like, they're in denial, but your brain is broken. Addiction is a brain disease. It's not a moral failing.
Right.
You know, the individual is not weak. The individual has a brain disease, and we have a disease that tells us that we're not sick. We have it, you know, and that doesn't allow us really to get the help that we need because we don't realize it. Like, we're impaired. And so currently, too, we don't really have adequate care, too. I mean, people that want help, they'll go to detox and get turned away because they're not sick enough. I can't tell you how many times I've sent someone down to a detox and they'll call me and say, well, they sent me home because I'm not sick enough. That means that they're not vomiting and defecating on themselves yet. You know, their vitals aren't showing signs of being in active withdrawal. And even if they, you know, by the time they go back, if they go back, which a lot of times they don't, because why are they going to want to stay in dope sickness? I mean, it's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Your joints hurt, you sweat, you vomit. So they're gonna leave there and they're gonna go fix themselves if we won't fix them.
Well, there's now we're taking it one step further. Believe it or not, this Sunday, Crandall Park, right in Glens Falls, right near the Y, big park. If you know there's a band shell there, well, they're doing a Sober Rave. This is a very, very cool idea, Ashley. I'm telling you, you know, you associate raves with drugs and alcohol and all sorts of stuff. How about a sober rave? Meaning that you might actually hear the music, you might actually enjoy the music, you might actually be able to dance to the music, but there's a sense of community about this also. So this Sunday in Crandall Park from 7 to 9 p.m., there's a Sober Rave. I'm positive that all of you out there know someone who could benefit from going, meeting other people, seeing other people, sharing stories, and helping find a path. She said something to me that I'm going to tell our audience about. She said, the change, I was asking her about the change, and she said the change goes from existing to living. So that sober becomes a lifestyle. I'm telling you, you're a very courageous person and very impressive, Ash. This is really something. So please, help out. Go to the Sober Rave, Crandall Park this Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Tell Ashley that we sent you. And make certain that you have a good time. You dance around, you jump around, you have a ball. I love raves.
And you remember it the next morning.
And you actually remember it, too. Well, you're welcome to come back anytime. Tell us about, you know, we didn't have time to talk about the Tree of Hope, but we have to talk about it another time.
Okay.
But please come back and keep us up to date on what you're doing and keep our audience informed, okay?
Absolutely.
Real pleasure to meet you.
You as well.
Okay, you take care.
Thank you.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.